Tag me,
That was
Annie.
our picture, wasn't it?
No, it was me and Annie and Sam.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, tag me on it. Facebook under fire after admitting that it conducted a social experiment on its own users without telling the users.
For shame, for shame,
No.
for shame.
The social network was trying to study online emotions to prove that they're contagious, but in the process, Facebook manipulated the news feeds of more than 600,000 users. This all happened back in 2012. To do it, Facebook would block certain status updates. Some people would see more positive words, others would see more negative ones.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, who are they to do this? First of all,
That's
I guess
deep.
I guess we're on their social media platform.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I take that back. Turns out people who saw the fewer negative words use more positive ones in their own updates and vice versa. Researchers called it an emotional contagion. But users have criticized the social network for treating users like lab rats without telling them. For its part, Facebook has defended its research, saying the testing was in line with its user policy.
Which
the thing that
it
we
means
never,
they can do whatever they want.
Right. Of course, it's their stuff. For more on the study, though, we want to turn to an expert. Cindy Crane is a psychotherapist and frequent guest of this program, and she works with us or via Skype right now. Good morning. Always good to see you, Cindy.
Good morning. Nice to see you by Skype today.
So my first reaction is what I said. I know this is their thing. We're just using it, but how dare they toy with our emotions? You know, we say we really care.
I was a little surprised to hear about that, weren't you?
Yeah, really. And so what was your reaction?
Well, I think the social media platform is one that can be diabolical when you think about it. There's a lot of ways that the media could be used, I guess, that we're not paying attention to. And, you know, we think that Facebook is private. It's my Facebook account. I have maybe my Facebook friends. I never think about them changing the algorithms to affect what I view.
Cindy, let's get to the actual what Facebook was trying to research here, and that is the results of their study that, you know, if we read positive things, we act in a positive way. If we read negative things, we act in a negative way. Does that kind of go in line with standard thinking in your line of work?
Yeah, well, we know as in the psychology world, the power of mirror neurons. And when we see somebody else smile, we smile. If we see someone frown, we frown. And so I can see that, you know, according to the study, Facebook, you know, put up a bunch of negative comments, and in return, we did in kind. I can see how that happens. It's pretty powerful.
Now, Cindy, I'm going to ask you this question. Shouldn't we, as people, though, realize that this is Facebook, this is social media, this is someone else's doing? So when you put it out there, your stuff out there, it's pretty much out there, and they are free to do whatever they want with it. Shouldn't we assume that already and just and brace ourselves for stuff like this happening?
Well, we should assume that, but I think that what happens is that we get caught up in our world. It becomes a vortex of us and our computer, and we believe that this is private. All the warnings in the world, I mean, don't always stop people from putting up some pretty crazy stuff.
It's amazing. I haven't seen any of the reactions, and I know this happened a couple of years ago, but often what I always hate when I go on social media and somebody will put out something, it's a news story that they find important or an event, and then people will react in a negative way, and I'm always a little disappointed by that people can be so cynical. I wonder how much it showed of that. Are you familiar with that? Like, it'll be a story that is of social importance, and then depending, you know, if it's a political thing or, you know, especially a racial thing or what have you, people just go on the attack.
I think it's the emotional pile-on, and that's my own term. But I think that when we see something exciting, we're drawn to it. It's sort of like the rubbernecking of an accident. It's maybe not a very pleasant trait to admit to, but I think when we see that there's drama, we're naturally drawn to it and play into it sometimes in a very negative way. And then there's a trickle-down effect.
It is interesting because I almost don't like reading comments anymore.
on
That's true.
anything, because if you see, even like, it could be a sports article that's posted, and then underneath it all the comments. And Cindy, it seems like almost every comment is negative. And a lot of this is, you know, we're hiding behind usernames so people don't know who we are. We don't randomly say positive things about people, but we have no problem with spewing these negative thoughts.
Right.
I think that we see this in other forms of media as well, that it's real easy to say something by text you would never say to somebody's face. Post kind of a little bit of a flirtatious photo that we would have no reason to share with anyone, but we had a good day, so we post it, and we forget who's looking at these things. And it is important for us to continue to remember for ourselves and for our children maybe even more so for ourselves because our children are a little bit more hip to some of this stuff, is that this is an open forum for discussion, and how we represent ourselves not only affects our own reputations, but we can also affect the moods of other people. And we should be more mindful and conscious of how we, present ourselves in social media, not least of which Facebook.
Well, Cindy, the last thing we're going to say, we're playing amateur therapist here because, as we know, on Fridays we have Ask Allison, where Allison tackles a lot of our viewers' questions, and now we're debuting a new Words of Wisdom segment with our good friend Wisdom Martin here. So, which one do you think is more believable now, and as far as these two?
You don't have to answer that
No,
question.
you do, Cindy.
You don't have to answer.
I'm going to go with Allison. I'm just going to vote on Allison right
and
now.
I'll vote on Wiz. You don't have to answer.
To both.
Fair
Thanks,
enough.
Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy. Cindy Crane with us this morning. Really appreciate it. Talking about Facebook and their manipulation, supposedly.
Right. Crane Counseling in Bethesda. Thank you.
All right. Some say Facebook treating us like lab rats.
Yeah, I
in
agree
a digital
with that.
way.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. But I really do. Like, my first reaction is to be outraged at that.
Yeah.
Because you're pulling on real emotion for an experiment that we're not involved in, and as opposed to, saying, how do you feel when you read this story?
Right.
I get it. Like, the real reaction comes with us not knowing, but I resent that.
I wonder if
So-
there'll be any fallout as far as Facebook is concerned.
Right. But they
What are you
said
gonna-
it's
what are you
in,
gonna
they said
do?
it's in
Yeah.
the user
Cancel your
policy,
account?
right?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't really
People
do
will
much
be
about
upset,
it.
but-
Yeah, and then they'll move on and they'll keep doing the same thing
Right.
they've been doing.
You're going to still be liking somebody else's status.
That's true.
Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
hour. Speaking of coming up, it's 10:20 right now, and we just mentioned it. We'll talk with Wisdom about Words of Wisdom. The Supreme Court weighing in on the birth control battle as well. We'll check in with Melanie Alnwick next. Thank you, Dave. What else is coming up? Keep pushing the button. There we go.